Before the lights, before the cameras, before her name was whispered in the corridors of Nollywood, like a secret spell, there was just a needle, some thread, and a dream stitched with silence. Uche Nancy was not born with a silver spoon. She came into the world with a spool of thread in her hand and fire in her chest. While others built empire with money, she built hers with fire, love, and quiet defiance. They say some women were born to marry kings, but she was born to dress them and later to direct the throne room itself. Her story is not just a story, it's a gown made of struggle, cut from clothes of survival, and hemmed with the golden thread of purpose. She stitched dreams into clothes before she stitched them into scripts. And when life tried to tear her apart, she reached for the needle. This is not just a biography. This is a tale of a woman who dressed the stars, adopted futures, and turned her pain into pictures. This is a story of a woman who stitched her name across the sky. Uche was born into a place where dreams don't knock. They wait outside, sweating in the sun. A place wrapped with dust and laughter. A place where mothers sang to their daughters while pounding yam. And fathers counted coins like stars. She was the quiet one, not the girl who shouted her name, but the one who stared at the clouds and imagined that she sewed them into dresses. Her eyes were sharp like scissors. She could look at a torn wrapper and see a queen's robe. Where others saw rags, she saw loyalty. Her hands were magic. By the age of 10, she was already turning Ankara into art. Her fingers moved like waters. Her stitches danced like music. People started whispering, "That girl, she's not ordinary." But life was not gentle. There were days when food was a memory and nights where sleep came only after tears. Still, she pressed on like a needle, pushing through thick cloths. She didn't complain. She created. She wasn't just poor. She was rich in vision and in fights. She didn't grow up with luxury, but she grew up with lightning in her bones. And behind her soft voice, there was a storm. Nollywood didn't open its hands for her. It did not welcome her with gold or red carpets. No, she walked in quietly, just like a breeze slipping through a closed window. No noise, no spotlight, just skills. She came in carrying thread and imagination. At first, she dressed the actors, stitched their stories into costumes. Her fingers told stories even before scripts did. One outfit at a time. She changed senses without saying a word. She was a woman behind the curtains, behind the sparkles, and behind the stars. The one who made queens look like queens and beggars look real enough to weep for. And yet, no one knew her name. But she didn't mind because Uche Nancy was not just dressing people, she was studying, watching, learning, sewing dreams into cloth while silently cutting patterns for her future. Every costume she made was a quiet declaration: I see more, and I am more. There were moments when she felt invisible. The stars smiled on set, the director shouted, the cameras rolled, and she stood in the shadows with her needle. But even shadows can rise because she wasn't made to stay behind the scene forever. One day, the thread in her hand would turn into a pen. One day, she wouldn't just dress the story, she would write it. Love came to her at first, soft as rain, almost sweet. She was young, full of faith, full of dreams, stitched tighter than her best blouse. She said the right words, and she said yes. And just like that, she stepped into marriage, heart wide open, hands still filled of thread. At first, it was beautiful. They laughed, enjoyed themselves. They planned, they danced in small spaces. And when children came, so did a deeper kind of love, a kind that doesn't speak, it only gives. She gave everything. But love, like fabric, can fade. Over time, what once felt soft turned stiff, now pulled at the stem. He changed, or maybe she grew. She held on, hoping, praying to God, threading every moment with patience, like she could fix a broken heart the way she fixed a torn hem. But those tears go deeper than cloth. One day, she looked at the mirror, but she couldn't recognize the woman staring at her. She wasn't Uche the dreamer. She was Uche the creator. She was someone stitched into silence. She did what many feared to do. She let go. It wasn't loud. There was no drama, just a soft goodbye and a strong decision. She walked out, not just for a marriage, but of a life that no longer fits. She left with her children and her needle, her future folded under her arm like unfinished fabric. I may be living alone, she whispered to herself, but I am not living empty. She became both mother and father, both cook and director, both comfort and command. Her daughters became her stars, her reason and her mirror. Didn't just raise them, she raised them up, truth, with love and with fire. Later, when other children came, some lost, some just broken, while some were searching, she opened her arms and welcomed them. Now, not because she had extra, but because she had enough heart to go around. Her home became more than just a house, it became a studio of souls, a one place where futures were fed and prepared for the screen. As she stitched their clothes, she also stitched their stories. One by one, she became mother to not just her own, but to all of them. She didn't just adopt children, she adopted destinies. She was raising daughters with her right hand, sowing dreams with her left, and holding back tears with both hands. Bills came like thunder. Audition failed like broken zippers. Sometimes the soup pot was empty, but the house was always full of hope. There were days when she wanted to give up, days when the lights turned off, when directors chose others, when hunger visited, when loneliness crept in like a slow breeze. But Uche Nancy was fireproof. The same fire meant to burn her became her light. And then, one day, she stopped waiting for permission. She picked up not just a thread, but a camera. The camera became her second eye. Where others saw actors, she saw emotions. Where others saw scripts, she saw souls. She was no longer backstage. She was the stage. Her first film was like her first child, filled with mistakes. She poured everything in. Her sleepless nights, her last coins, and her last prayer. In her movies, women didn't just cry, they conquered. Mothers fought. Daughters rose, fathers failed and came back. Her stories were fire wrapped in lace. She became the director who saw what others missed. Her house was never quiet. She gave birth to 4 daughters, but she murdered many more. Some came to her with broken accents. Some came to her looking hungry. Some came lost. She didn't care where they came from. What only mattered was where they would go. She raised Chinenue Nnebe, who grew from her womb into the heart of Nollywood. But she also raised the ones no one saw. She cleaned tears that weren't hers. She paid school fees that weren't her responsibility. She believed in people even before they auditioned, and they bloomed. Oh, they bloomed. Her living room became a stage. Her kitchen became a casting ground. Her hallway a runway of hope. And one by one, the children of her purpose lit up Nollywood, not just with talent, but with the fire she stitched into them. Her children didn't just inherit her face or her footsteps, they inherited her fire. Chinenye became a screen queen, not just because she could act, but because she had watched her mother live, had seen her mother fall without breaking, rise without noise, and she watched her mother create without complaints. They call her a costumier than a producer, than a mother of stars. But really, Uche Nancy was a quiet kind of god, a woman who didn't just make clothes or films, she made people. She stitched broken dreams into blockbusters. She turned thread into thunder. She made motherhood a ministry and movie making a mission. And when they ask her how she did it all, she smiles and said nothing. Now, this is because legends don't speak. They let the light that they stitch into others do the talking. Look up the trail of stars across the Nollywood style. That's her name, stitched in silence and smiling forever.